Ever get that nagging feeling you're capable of so much more, but something inside just won't let you take off, like an invisible handbrake is constantly engaged?
Oh, yeah, that's a frustration so many people share. And often, the key to releasing that break lies right within our own minds.
Exactly. And that's precisely the territory we're exploring today in our deep dive. We're focusing on Believe It to Achieve It by Brian Tracy and Christina Spine, a book that's really all about understanding and, well, overcoming those internal roadblocks.
hmm What's really powerful about this book, I think, is how it connects our thoughts and beliefs directly to the reality we experience.
Hmm.
It sort of empowers you to see that connection and then learn how to consciously shape it.
Right. So for you, our listener, our mission is pretty straightforward. We want to pull out the most valuable, actionable insights from this book, give you a clear understanding of its core principles, quickly, thoroughly, without getting bogged down so you can start using them right away. Sharpen your mindset and achieve those goals that really matter to you.
And my role here is just to help us navigate these ideas, maybe provide a bit of context where needed, and really boil this information down into practical takeaways you can actually weave into your daily life.
Okay, let's jump right in with something truly astonishing. The sheer processing power we have. I mean, the book highlights that our brains have around 100 billion cells.
100 billion, yeah. And each making, what, about 20,000 connections?
Exactly. So the total number of potential thoughts we can have is actually greater than the number of molecules in the known universe. It's just
Yeah.
mind-blowing.
It truly is an almost unfathomable capacity.
Yeah.
And the crucial insight here is that this incredible engine is constantly running, right? Constantly interpreting the world around us and, well, as a result, influencing how we act within it. As the book really emphasizes, our external world is, to a very large extent, a mirror of our internal thoughts.
Right. And this isn't just like abstract theory, it has tangible real-world effects. When we learn to manage and improve our thinking, our actions naturally follow suit, leading to different, hopefully better outcomes.
Change your thinking, change your life. It sounds simple, maybe, but the implications are profound.
And Christina shares a really compelling example of this in her work, doesn't she?
Yes, she does. She talks about a 40-year-old man who came to her basically because he was just tired of feeling unhappy. I mean, on the surface, he had a life many would envy, loving family, stable career.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah, but he felt this deep, persistent lack of fulfillment.
So what was the turning point for him? What actually changed?
Well, by examining his habitual thought patterns, digging into them, he started to identify the negative self-talk and the limiting beliefs that were essentially coloring his entire experience.
Oh, okay.
And as he consciously started to challenge and shift those internal narratives, his overall sense of happiness began to significantly improve, even though his external circumstances hadn't really changed much.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a powerful demonstration of how internal shifts can create very real external changes.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The book then introduces the idea that our lives operate according to a set of fundamental mental laws. They even quote Napoleon Hill saying, never attempt to violate natural laws and win.
This is a really key concept. These aren't like legal rules, but more like fundamental principles that describe how our minds and the universe around us tend to function. Understanding these laws and learning to align with them can be a real game changer in how you approach life and your goals.
So let's start with what they present as a cornerstone, the law of cause and effect. It has roots all the way back to Aristotle, apparently. What are the core principles we need to get here?
At its heart, this law is really just about causality. The book boils it down to two main points. First, if you consistently do what successful, happy people do, you will likely start to see similar results in your own life. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, sounds logical.
Conversely, the second point is that if you consistently avoid doing what successful, happy people do, then nothing else you try is likely to make a significant difference.
Yeah.
Look, a pretty direct link between actions and consequences.
It's that straightforward. It reminds me of that analogy they use about healthy habits leading to fitness.
Exactly. We instinctively get this principle in the physical realm right. Eat well, exercise, you're more likely to be healthy. The book says this same powerful principle applies just as strongly to our mental realm. Our thoughts are the initial causes.
And our circumstances, our life as we experience it, are the effects.
Right.
Your thought is creative, as they put it.
Mm.
Okay, so our thoughts have this creative power. But how exactly do they translate into tangible effects? What's the mechanism?
That's where emotion comes in, and it's critical.
Mm,
The book explains that our emotions, positive or negative, act as a kind of charge that amplifies our thoughts.
like fuel.
Like fuel, or maybe even the guidance system. Think of them like the computer in a guided missile, directing us with pretty remarkable accuracy toward whatever we are consistently focusing on emotionally.
That's a really vivid image. So, if we find ourselves constantly dwelling on emotionally charged negative thoughts,
Then, according to the law of cause and effect, we are essentially setting things in motion that will likely lead to negative outcomes. And here's a crucial part. Once that initial cause, that thought charged with emotion, is set in motion, the effect tends to unfold automatically.
like planting a seed.
Exactly like planting a seed, whether it's positive or negative, it will germinate and grow. We control the seeds, we plant our thoughts, but the harvest, the conditions in our lives, that comes whether we consciously want it or not.
And Christina uses her therapy background here with the garden analogy, right?
Yes, she does. She uses this metaphor of exploring a client's garden of thoughts, ideas, core beliefs. By understanding which positive and negative seeds have been planted since childhood from outside influences, and by the person themselves, she can help identify the underlying causes of their current struggles.
And the book has an exercise related to this, encouraging us to vividly imagine a goal as if it's already happened. How does that tie into cause and effect?
Well, by doing that vivid mental rehearsal, really feeling the positive emotions of having achieved the goal, we're essentially planting a very potent positive seed.
Okay.
This focused thinking about what we want, coupled with those good feelings, it naturally sparks new ideas, fuels motivation, gets us taking the right actions, and starts that upward spiral of success. The clearer we focus on the effect we want the goal achieved, the more we unconsciously start aligning our thoughts and actions as the cause.
That makes perfect sense. Now, the book also talks about what they call the foundation principle. What's the core idea there?
The foundation principle, as they frame it, is incredibly fundamental. You see it echoed everywhere: philosophy, psychology, success literature. Put simply, you ultimately become what you think about most of the time.
So, if our thinking is kind of scattered, unfocused,
Then our lives will likely reflect that lack of clear direction. We might bounce between thinking about what we want and then immediately worrying about what we don't want, basically going in circles. It's a consistent, dominant thought patterns that truly shape us and our reality.
okay. Next up in their mental laws is the law of attraction. Now, this is a pretty well-known idea, but the book seems to offer a more nuanced take than just, visualize, and it appears.
Absolutely. The core idea of our minds acting like a living magnet, attracting people, resources, experiences that align with our dominant thoughts, that's central.
Yeah.
But the book really emphasizes the crucial role of emotion. It suggests positive or negative emotion acts like an electrical charge, significantly amplifying our attraction power.
So it's not just thinking positive thoughts intellectually, but generating thoughts charged with positive feeling.
Precisely. And beyond that emotional charge, the book stresses clarity about what you want, plus a strong belief, like real faith in its possibility. Those are essential for this law to work well.
And doubt screws it up.
Doubt, negativity, they're like powerful saboteurs, hindering the whole process. They even mention poverty consciousness, where constantly focusing on lack and fearing you won't have enough. Well, unfortunately, it can actually perpetuate that scarcity.
And then we have the law of correspondence. This one connects our inner world to our outer experiences, especially relationships.
Yes, this law basically says the quality of our external relationships tends to mirror our internal feelings about ourselves. The more we genuinely like and respect ourselves inside, the more likely we are to like and respect others, and in turn, the better our relationships will be.
Yeah.
All aspects.
Like a reflection.
Exactly, working from the inside out. Think about it. If you're constantly criticizing yourself internally, you might find yourself drawn to, or maybe even creating, relationships where you feel similarly criticized. It just reflects back.
All these mental laws really highlight the immense power of our minds. But where do these thoughts, feelings, these core beliefs even come from? The book spends a good chunk of time on the discovery of the self-concept. Why is that seen as such a crucial breakthrough?
Well, understanding the self-concept, which really came into focus in the 20th century, is presented as just monumental because it gives us a framework for understanding where our inner world comes from, our thoughts, feelings, beliefs about ourselves. And crucially, it shows us this inner landscape isn't fixed. It can be intentionally reshaped.
So it's like understanding our inner operating system.
Exactly. And that understanding is what really unlocks the potential for personal growth and transformation.
And how does this self-concept actually develop? What are the main influences?
It mostly develops through our interactions with others and how we interpret those interactions, especially during childhood. The book really emphasizes a child's powerful innate need for security and belonging. This often leads to behaviors aimed at getting approval and avoiding disapproval. It can manifest as this feeling of, I have to conform to what parents or caregivers expect.
That I have to feeling. Yeah, that definitely resonates. And the book suggests this early pattern can unfortunately stick with us into adulthood, even when the pressures aren't the same.
Sadly, yes, that's often the case. That deep-seated fear of rejection or criticism, initially tied to maybe losing love or approval in childhood, can solidify into a habit.
Hmm.
It leads to an adult who's overly sensitive to others' opinions, even when those opinions don't really hold any power over them anymore.
Mm.
There's a powerful client story in the book about a woman who started embracing her authentic self,
Hmm.
even if it meant not pleasing everyone. And guess what? She ended up finding a much more fulfilling, genuine romantic relationship.
And that ingrained I have to isn't just psychological, right? The book suggests it can even show up physically.
That's right. The book points out how this persistent pattern of feeling obligated, burdened, can often be felt as physical tension, even pain, particularly down the back. When we carry that internal pressure, our muscles tend to reflect it.
It's quite sobering, really, to think that so many negative emotions and limiting beliefs we struggle with as adults are basically planted like seeds in childhood through criticism or maybe neglect. The book even says a dysfunctional adult is often the direct result of a dysfunctional childhood.
It's a powerful, maybe uncomfortable truth. It really highlights the long-lasting impact of our early years. But, and this is the crucial point, the self-concept, while deep-seated, isn't set in stone. It can be changed. And the very first step, the book stresses, developing a clear awareness of where those negative emotions and limiting beliefs actually came from.
Okay, so once we have that awareness, how do we actually go about changing our self-concept for the better? What are the practical steps?
Well, the book contrasts people who tend to be successful and happy with those who struggle. Successful folks typically have a clear vision of their goals and values, and they try to live with integrity, aligned with those values.
Takes sense.
Unsuccessful individuals, on the other hand, often lack that clear sense of their ideal self. They might be more prone to compromising their values. So the key is to consciously, intentionally cultivate a positive, inspiring, self-ideal opponent, the kind of person you truly want to be.
And self-esteem is absolutely central to this whole process, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. The book highlights a very strong direct correlation between your level of self-esteem and your experience of success and happiness in, well, pretty much every area of life. People with high self-esteem tend to have more positive personality traits. They're generally more liked, more resilient when facing challenges. It just flows through everything.
Now, the book mentions something called fast reaction time as a big breakthrough in understanding how to change. What exactly is that referring to?
Fast reaction time here refers to the incredibly powerful and immediate impact of our internal dialogue. You know, that constant stream of thoughts and self-talk running through our minds all day.
Okay.
Just like the foundation principle says, we become what we think about most often. This concept emphasizes we also tend to become what we consistently say to ourselves internally. Our inner conversations have a profound, immediate effect on our emotional state.
So if we're constantly running ourselves down internally, reinforcing insecurities.
That persistent negativity will inevitably shape how we feel moment to moment, and over time, deeply erode our overall self-concept. But the good news, the encouraging part, is that we can actively reprogram those deep subconscious feelings by consciously working to build our self-esteem. The more you genuinely like and accept yourself, the more positive your experience of life becomes across the board.
And they even give a simple, actionable exercise to start this, right?
Yes, a very practical one. Take time to write down at least 3 specific qualities you genuinely like about yourself. Then regularly affirm, I like myself, while looking in the mirror. It might sound almost too simple,
A little bit, yeah.
but consistent positive self-affirmation done with real intention can be a surprisingly powerful tool for gradually shifting those ingrained negative self-perceptions, cultivating a stronger sense of self-acceptance.
Okay, we've looked at the power of thoughts and how our self-concept forms. Now let's tackle a crucial question. What are some of the most common things that tend to hold us back, keep us from reaching our potential and getting what we truly want?
The book makes a really important point first. Every child is born with essentially unlimited potential. It's through life experiences and adopting limiting beliefs that we start creating these self-imposed barriers.
So what are the big ones?
The book specifically highlights the fear of poverty and the fear of rejection as two of the most significant widespread obstacles.
Let's dig into the fear of poverty first. They ask a really thought-provoking question. What would you genuinely do differently right now if you had absolutely unlimited money?
It's a really revealing question, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it forces you to confront how often our decisions, big and small, are actually driven by underlying financial anxieties, not by what we truly want or aspire to.
Yeah.
The book suggests a significant number of people end up taking less fulfilling jobs or staying in unhappy, maybe even unhealthy situations, primarily because of this deep fear of not having enough.
And the fear of rejection, as they discuss it, that's so powerful because it taps into our fundamental human need for connection and belonging, right?
Exactly. We're inherently social beings. So the prospect of being completely alone, ostracized, it feels, on a very deep emotional level, like a threat to our survival.
Right.
And this powerful need for acceptance can lead us to suppress our genuine needs and desires just to maintain relationships, even if those relationships aren't really serving us well in the long run.
This leads right into their discussion of deficiency needs versus being needs using Maslow's hierarchy. Can you quickly explain that?
Sure. Maslow's hierarchy basically sorts human motivations into levels. The most basic survival, safety, belonging are called deficiency needs. When these aren't met, they tend to dominate our focus.
Okay.
Once those are reasonably satisfied, we start moving towards what Maslow called being needs. The fourth level is self-esteem, our need for self-respect, and the respect of others. The book argues that a huge chunk of our behavior is aimed, consciously or unconsciously, at getting feelings of self-esteem or trying to compensate for lacking it. It's a very central driver.
And as we touched on, a major source of low self-esteem can be those negative emotions rooted in childhood. The book lists quite a few: fear, doubt, worry, envy, jealousy, resentment, feeling unworthy, inadequate. That's a heavy load.
It is indeed. And the book directly links these ingrained negative emotions to experiences of destructive criticism or maybe a lack of unconditional love early on. Constant criticism or love that feels conditional, like you only get it if you meet certain expectations, can unfortunately foster those persistent feelings of fear, self-doubt, chronic worry.
Yeah.
Christina's example of the client paralyzed by fear of upsetting his mother, even as an adult, really shows how these early patterns can persist and severely restrict someone's life.
Emotions like envy and resentment seem particularly toxic. The book points out envy is unique because it offers absolutely no positive payoff for the person feeling it.
That's a very sharp observation. Envy is unique in its purely destructive nature for the envier. It stems from feeling inadequate, inferior when comparing yourself to others. And often it's learned, maybe modeled by parents. Resentment is similar. Holding on to past hurts just fuels ongoing negativity inside you.
And these negative emotions aren't just unpleasant. They can actually mess with our thinking, right? Distort our judgment. Like Abigail Trafford's crazy time during her divorce.
Exactly. When we're gripped by intense negative emotion, our perception of reality gets clouded. Our ability to think logically, reasonably, can be significantly impaired. This can lead to impulsive behavior, decisions we regret later when things calm down.
The book then breaks down some common underlying causes of these negative emotions, starting with justification.
Yes, justification here means that mental process of constantly explaining and arguing for your own negativity, often just inside your head. The more you try to justify why you feel bad, why you're right and they're wrong, the more intense and stuck those negative emotions tend to become.
Another big one they highlight is holding on to the past. They use the pencil test analogy from the Sedona method. Can you explain that briefly?
Sure. The pencil test is a great analogy for emotional attachment. Imagine gripping a pencil really tightly for a long time. At first, maybe no big deal, but eventually your hand cramps, it hurts. The pencil isn't the source of the pain. It's the holding on so tightly. Similarly, clinging to negative past experiences and the feelings attached causes pain in our present. The solution, like just opening your hand, is to consciously choose to let go. The book even suggests physically writing down the negative event and then destroying the paper, a symbolic act of release.
Rationalization is another common one they discuss. Using our logical mind to justify behavior that might actually come from low self-esteem or insecurity.
That's right. When our self-esteem is low, it's hard to admit mistakes or shortcomings. So, to protect our ego, we might create these elaborate, logical-sounding justifications for our actions, even when those actions aren't really good for us or aligned with our values. The book points out even criminals often rationalize their actions to feel okay about themselves.
And then there's blaming. The book boldly calls it the root of pretty much all negative emotion, the antidote, taking complete responsibility for your own situation.
Precisely. When we blame others for how we feel or what's happening, we essentially give them power over our emotional state. By consciously choosing to take responsibility, saying, I am responsible for my part here, we shift that power back inward,
Even when it's hard.
even when it's hard. That act of accepting responsibility fosters a sense of control, agency, which leads to more positive emotions and well-being.
Guilt is another heavy one, often learned from parents, maybe even used deliberately by certain ideologies for control.
The book talks about guilt throwers and guilt catchers, showing how guilt can be this pervasive, often unconscious pattern used to manipulate. They even suggest an exercise, symbolically confronting a guilt thrower in an empty chair to start breaking free from those patterns.
Amidst all these potential emotional traps, the book really stresses finding your own personal meaning and purpose, echoing Viktor Frankl's insights.
Frankl, who survived the Holocaust, believed the fundamental human drive is the search for meaning. The book connects this to making a positive difference in others' lives. It suggests true meaning often comes from contributing to something bigger than ourselves, which in turn boosts our self-esteem significantly.
Now, the book shifts towards proactive strategies, like pre-programming positive responses to triggers.
Yeah, because emotional reactions can be so fast, automatic, right? So it can be incredibly helpful to consciously decide in advance how you want to respond to situations or people that usually trigger negative feelings.
Like the example they give.
Right, deciding whenever I think of that person, I will consciously bless them, forgive them, and let go. It's a powerful way to interrupt those old negative patterns. Since our mind can really only hold one thought at a time, choosing a positive one effectively pushes the negative one out. Forgiveness here isn't just for the other person. It's key to our own inner peace.
I really liked the section on realizing it's not your fault, referencing Goodwill Hunting. Releasing that self-blame for past trauma or just incompatible relationships feels incredibly freeing.
It truly is. Recognizing that past events, or even a relationship ending, might not have been because you failed somehow, can be immensely liberating. Holding on to anger and self-blame just keeps us stuck in the past.
And that write the letter exercise sounds powerful.
It can be. Expressing all your feelings to the person, no expectation of response, ending with, I wish you well, and actually mailing it. The physical act can create a real sense of release. And again, consciously canceling negative thoughts by blessing and wishing well those who caused pain.
And that reminder, the past is facts, unchangeable. Problems are in the future, solvable. It's such a waste of energy being upset about unchangeable facts.
That distinction is absolutely crucial for emotional well-being. Focus your energy on what you can influence the future, not the fixed past. That's key to feeling empowered, less stressed.
The book describes an upward spiral. Self-disclosure leads to self-awareness, then self-acceptance, boosting self-esteem, creating a brighter future. And they encourage guiding others through this too, with unconditional positive regard and non-judgmental listening.
Yes, cultivating this positive cycle helps us immensely, but it also creates a more supportive environment for those around us. Really listening without judgment, offering genuine support that can be incredibly powerful for others.
The core idea that you give meaning to everything really struck me. The same event can cause totally different reactions in different people.
That just highlights how subjective our experience is, doesn't it? Like A Course in Miracles suggests, we're constantly projecting our own interpretations onto the world. The book says one of the fastest ways to transform your emotional state is to consciously choose to see the past differently. Apply the law of substitution. Replace negative interpretations with more positive or neutral ones. Wayne Dyer's quote, "It's never too late to have a happy childhood," speaks right to this power to reframe our emotional history.
And we can actively work on our interpretation style, revisiting memories and reframing them to lessen their negative impact. That Hindu belief analogy about choosing parents to learn lessons is fascinating.
Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, the exercise itself, imagining you chose your parent and early experiences to learn specific lessons, can be a powerful perspective shift. It encourages finding meaning even in hardship. Brian Tracy's little story about the woman telling him to stop complaining about his father because he was still alive. It really hits home about appreciating what we have, finding a better frame.
Which leads right into that practical exercise. Reinterpret past setbacks as learning experiences. Instead of just feeling like a failure, ask, what's the key lesson I'm meant to learn from this problem?
And it's crucial to dig deeper than just surface answers. Really try to grasp the core lessons. Face the truth, take necessary actions that eliminate stress. Actively reframing problems as opportunities shifts you from victim to empowered.
Even near-death experiences seem to point to similar themes, right? The questions often reported are, what have you learned? And how have you increased your capacity to love? Like life's final exam.
These profound experiences, though rare, seem to consistently highlight what truly matters in the grand scheme. Personal growth through learning and expanding our ability to love and connect that emerges as the central purpose.
So we should make it a conscious habit to reframe our experiences. Actively look for the good, the hidden lessons in everything. This keeps our minds more positive, emotions calmer.
Exactly. Intentionally focusing on potential benefits and learning opportunities actively counteracts negativity and keeps us resourceful, optimistic.
The book acknowledges problems and crises are inevitable. Emmett Fox said, great souls learn great lessons from small problems. And change is constant, too, personally and professionally. Peter Drucker's quote, the very best way to predict the future is to create it, reminds us we have agency.
Expecting change is natural, and proactively preparing mentally, using visualization, thinking about future trends, anticipating crises, scenario planning that can significantly cut stress and boost our ability to respond effectively.
It's all about being proactive, not reactive, asking those what-if questions. What if I faced a major loss? What skills will I need in 5 years? The book suggests many get stuck just from not thinking ahead like this. Preparation seems absolutely key. Develop skills before you desperately need them.
That proactive mindset is definitely a mark of preparedness and resilience. The book also emphasizes practice idealization, creating that compelling vision of your perfect future, free from current limits. What would you truly love to do if anything were possible?
And when problems do hit, the book stresses analyze it carefully. Understand root causes, identify solutions. They even connect it to Kubler-Ross's stages of grief as a framework for processing major disruptions.
Right, the stages, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, action can be a useful map for navigating big challenges. The quicker we move through them consciously, the faster we regain balance. Asking those 4 key questions. What happened? Why? What can be done? What's the very first step? Helps regain control and move forward constructively. And Covey's seek first to understand is incredibly valuable here too.
It's about consciously avoiding catastrophizing, right? Instead, actively seek the valuable lesson. Imagine the universe is trying to teach you something. That statistic about self-made millionaires averaging 2.3 bankruptcies really shows that mistakes and setbacks can be crucial learning moments.
Absolutely. Those failures often hold the seeds of future success if we learn from them. The key is to consciously neutralize the negative emotion tied to change. Try to see difficult transitions as potential blessings. Resistance causes more stress than the change itself. Acceptance allows adaptation. And remembering the fear of loss is often stronger than the desire for gain helps us reassure ourselves. We've overcome challenges before. We can again.
The book strongly advises regularly calling a timeout, step back, rethink your situation with new information, and actively restructure your life. Apply the 80-20 rule, focus on the 20% of activities yielding 80% of results. Re-engineer, simplify, delegate or outsource low-value tasks.
These are incredibly powerful strategies for regaining control when you feel overwhelmed or stuck. It's about consciously reshaping your life to align with your priorities, freeing up time and energy for what really matters most.
Ultimately, it comes back to personal responsibility, our ability to choose how we respond to life's inevitable crises. Nietzsche's quote, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger," really captures that idea of embracing challenges as chances for profound growth.
Viewing every challenge as an opportunity to become better, more resilient, that's a defining trait of strong character. Embracing change is necessary for progress. Even just shifting our vocabulary, using improvement instead of change, can have a big positive impact on mindset.
Okay, let's shift focus now to the importance of relationships. The book really hammers home that most of our happiness and success are deeply tied to the quality of our connections with others.
That's a fundamental truth, consistently backed by research. Our relationships profoundly impact our well-being and our ability to reach goals. It's also true The more positive and supportive we are, the more people want to be around us. And environments, home or work with high self-esteem leaders, tend to foster high self-esteem in everyone.
The book outlines the 5 A's of great relationships: acceptance, appreciation, admiration, approval, and attention. Let's break those down quickly.
Okay, acceptance. Consciously accept people unconditionally as they are without trying to change them. Appreciation. Actively express gratitude. They suggest listing 10 things you appreciate about someone. Admiration. Genuinely notice and verbalize specific things you admire. Give sincere compliments. Approval. Offer specific, immediate praise publicly for good work. Address improvements privately. Like Ken Blanchard's Catch People Doing Something Right. And attention. Give focused, active listening. They mention levels of listening, asking clarifying questions. Giving undivided attention really builds self-esteem.
These 5 A's seem like a really practical framework for consciously building better connections, and the book stresses practicing them deliberately until they become natural.
Yes, exactly. Conscious effort at first leads to better automatic habits later. The book also makes two other key points about relationships. First, commit wholeheartedly to the ones that matter. Sometimes giving up a bit of individual freedom leads to greater freedom and a trusting bond. Second, echoing what we said earlier, don't try to fundamentally change the other person. Accept them unconditionally. That pig flying analogy is pretty apt. It just frustrates everyone.
The book then touches on common relationship problems: jealousy, often rooted in feeling unlovable from childhood criticism; self-pity, sometimes learned, often fueled by lacking personal goals; and incompatibility, which they say should just be accepted as fact, no blame assigned.
Recognizing the roots of these negative emotions in relationships is the first step to dealing with them constructively. The antidote to self-pity: get busy pursuing your own goals. For incompatibility, accept it without anger. Base decisions on what feels right for your well-being. And that 99-to-1 rule is a good reminder. People mostly think about themselves anyway.
And a crucial element for lasting relationships isn't just being in love, but genuinely liking the person, the best friend test.
That's a vital distinction. Romantic love is important, sure, but a strong foundation of genuine friendship, enjoying time together, sharing interests, being open and honest, that's essential for navigating the inevitable bumps in any long-term relationship. Improving relationships generally is also just a powerful way to reduce negative feelings and boost overall happiness.
Finally, the last chapter has a very direct title: Get On With It. It really emphasizes having a clear purpose and a burning desire to achieve it.
Yes, ultimately, moving forward requires both clarity of vision and strong internal drive. The book contrasts positive and negative thinking, urges us to consciously let go of past negativity, embrace optimism, and then it lays out 7 keys to a positive future.
Let's quickly hit those 7 keys. First, values clarification. Identify your core values, organize your life around them.
Knowing what truly matters provides a moral compass, guides decisions and actions.
Second, idealization. Create a vivid, inspiring picture of your ideal future. Maybe use magazines like they suggest.
A clear, compelling vision aligned with your values makes daily choices easier, keeps you motivated.
Third, mission. Define your purpose, the difference you want to make. Writing your own obituary is a powerful exercise for this.
Thinking about how you want to be remembered helps focus your contributions, your desired impact.
Fourth, goals. Set clear, specific, written goals. Achieving big goals builds confidence. Remember, all skills are learnable. Identify your weakest, master it. Focus on the top 20% of tasks yielding 80% of results. Results are everything at work, they stress.
Defined goals provide a roadmap, keep you focused. Knowing skills are learnable empowers you. Prioritizing high-impact tasks ensures effective use of time and energy.
Fifth, continuous learning. Be a lifelong student. Read, listen, watch positive content, take courses, feed your mind.
Staying curious, actively learning keeps you relevant, adaptable, opens more possibilities.
Sixth, positive mental and physical health. Recognize the mind-body connection. Prioritize self-care, sleep, nutrition, exercise. Fatigue breeds negativity, they say.
Our physical and mental states are linked. Self-care is essential for a positive outlook, stress management, peak performance.
And seventh, positive expectations. Cultivate optimism. Believe in a positive future. Expectations can become self-fulfilling prophecies.
Believing in a positive future significantly influences motivation, actions, and ultimately outcomes.
The book wraps up with 7 essential truths about yourself. Powerful affirmations about our inherent goodness, potential, importance, things to be proud of, responsibility for our lives, learning capacity, and power over our thoughts and future. It ends emphatically. There are no limits.
These truths serve as a strong foundation for unwavering self-belief, moving forward with confidence and possibility.
So, to bring this deep dive into believe it, to achieve it, to a close, we've covered the incredible power of our thoughts, the influence of mental laws, how our self concept forms, and how we can change it, the common roadblocks, and a ton of practical strategies for better relationships and unlocking potential.
Ultimately, it's a really empowering message, isn't it? You possess the capacity within you to create and live a truly wonderful life.
And for you, our listener, we leave you with this thought. What's one key area from today that really resonated? One insight where you feel you can start shifting your thinking or take a new action, like right now?
Yeah, what positive seed will you consciously choose to plant in your own garden of thoughts going forward?
That's a really important question to reflect on.
It is.
Thank you so much for joining us for this personalized deep dive. We really hope these insights from Brian Tracy and Christina Stein's book give you valuable tools and perspectives for your own journey of growth and achievement.
And we definitely encourage you to keep exploring the ideas in the book, or maybe think about what other sources or topics you might like us to unpack together in a future deep dive.